So today we are doing some more review from chapter 10. There is also going to be some review from chapters 8 and 9. We have exponents and rational numbers. So that's actually what we're starting with today. All right, oftentimes that review gets like shoved at the end of class and we don't have a whole lot of time for it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take about 5 minutes to work through each of these problems. We have a lot packed into this slide. We have exponent rules, product of powers, quotient of powers, power of a product. Over on the right-hand side, we have negative exponents that we must make positive. And then on the very bottom right, we have an equation that we must solve. I need you to solve for x. All right, so I want you to go ahead and work through these 7 problems. These are really similar problems to what you're going to see on your test tomorrow in the review section. All right, number 1, did you add 4 plus 7 or multiply? You multiplied. So 4 times 7 gives me 28. Remember to multiply. I've got to do the operation between. Now, when I'm multiplying exponents that have the same base, what do I do with my exponents? I add them. So this is 28 x to the 10th power. All right, next one. 16 over 12. Did you reduce that? Yes. Reduce it to 4 over 3, and then you subtract your powers of g, and you get 4g squared over 3. Now, I need you to be careful. Do not say 4 over 3 and then put a g squared down here. Okay? Because the g squared is not in the denominator. Some of you are trying to write g squared just next to it, which that's okay, but do not make it look like it's in the denominator, because that's not correct. All right, now coming down to the next one. Does this mean 5 times 2? No, 5 squared. So you should write 25 a squared b squared. On the top right one, 21. All I'm doing here is trying to write the expression using only positive exponents. So the number 21, do I need to flip 21 to the other side of the fraction? No, I can leave it where it is. What about a? A has to flip down. What about b? Where does b need to be? In the top. I leave it where it is. 21 b to the 3rd over a to the 6th. All right, next one. Who got the answer on the next one? Who wants to tell me the answer? What'd you guys get? Sam, what'd you get?
I got 15c to the 5th power.
Very good, 15c to the 5th power. So I see this negative exponent. I'm like, oh, I can't have a negative exponent. But what happens when I do my product of powers? I do negative 5 plus 10, which gives me a positive 5, and I'm done. I actually don't end up having to flip anything because I end up with a positive. All right, what about this next one? Anybody get the next one? Hayden, what'd you get?
I got x to the power to 8.
Okay, so it's negative 8. Right? And then, but I can't leave a negative 8. Okay? I can't leave it like this because I can't have a negative. So I put it over 1. And then did you guys flip it? All right, thumbs up if you flipped it. Did you guys flip it? All right, 1 over x to the 8th power. 1 over x to the 8th power. All right, last one. We are solving for x. Solving for x here. So I have the 8x minus 2. What is the square root of 25? Times 5. So there's a little bit of evaluation I have to do there. Now, what is negative 2 times 5?
Negative 10.
So 8x minus 10 equals 30. Now I have a 2-step equation to solve. What are you going to do? Add 10 to both sides. Add 10 to both sides. 8x equals 40. divide by 8, and x equals 5. So you will have a couple of equations on your test tomorrow. You might have to take a square root, or you might have a radical in there. That's how we would solve it. All right, like I said, guys, this is 20% of your test tomorrow. So if you miss the whole review section, your starting grade is an 80. That's not good. All right, but if you get the whole review section right, then that gives you that 20%. All right. Now, the formulas are everything on your test tomorrow. If you switch up your formulas, you're going to be in deep trouble. So let's say the formulas together. Cylinder, V equals pi r squared h. Volume of a cone, V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. The volume of a sphere, V equals 4/3 pi r to the third power. So, couple things we need to remember. The 4/3 goes with sphere, and I have to cube the radius. There is no height on sphere. There's no height because it's a perfectly round, three-dimensional figure. All right, so there's my formulas. Notice in the instructions, I'm going to tell you to find the volume of the figure. So some of you guys didn't like this on the quiz. You're like, well, what's the figure? Tell me what the figure is. And I'm like, I can't tell you. You have to be able to recognize the figure. So we have a figure here. You had to figure out, is this a cylinder, cone, or sphere? And then use the correct formula. This type of question will be worth 8 points on your test tomorrow. All right, go ahead and solve for the volume. All right, volume equals pi 3.14 times r squared times my height. So we need to make sure we do our exponent first. What is 3 squared? 9. So what did you guys get when you did 3.14 times 9 times 3? All right, 84.78 centimeters cubed. Now, if I were to ask you on the test tomorrow to round this to the nearest tenth, which number is in the tenths place?
The 1 behind 7.
Okay, the 7 is in the tenths place. Look to the 8. Okay, 84.8. Well, I got to approximate it. Do your squigglies. Centimeters cubed. So it just depends on how the test asks you to round tomorrow.
Wait, do you have to cube it? Where?
You cube it because it's volume. Volume is three-dimensional. All right. Now I need you to find the volume of this figure. This will be worth 8 points on your test tomorrow. Find the volume of this figure. Make sure you use the correct formula. So it's such a bummer for me when I'm grading your test. I'm like, no, everything looks great, but they used the wrong formula and it's wrong. All right. So again, the formula is everything. Volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. Volume equals 1/3 times 3.14. What's my radius? 5. So what's 5 squared? 25 times the height of my cone. So remember, guys, I need you to do all of this multiplication, and then what do you do at the end because it's a cone? Divide by 3. What did you guys get?
I got 523.4.
All right, 523 point
You can't round. You can't round.
3 centimeters cubed.
You can't round that. It's too low to round.
Okay, it's too low. What was in the hundredths place? Okay, so to round to the 10th, your answer is about 523.3 centimeters cubed. All right, yes, this was a cone. All right, now, you always cube volume. If you're finding volume, you cube the unit at the end. All right, next one. Again, hopefully we all know what kind of figure this is, but more importantly, we know what the formula is to find the volume of this figure. All right, so V equals, let's say the formula together, and then I'll give you a minute to solve. 4/3 pi r to the third power. So many people on the quiz on Friday did r squared, and that's what threw off their answer. So it's 4/3 pi r to the third power. All right, go ahead and make your substitutions and solve. All right, 4/3, so V equals 4/3 times, and I told you to put 3.14 over 1. We'll talk about that in a minute. Times the radius to, guys, stop talking, to the third power. What is 7 to the third power? 343. If you want to go ahead and write that, you can, to save you from having to write an extra step. Now,
Why do you put it over 1?
because I need to multiply all these numbers together
And then divide.
first, and then I divide by 3. So when I write them over 1, it's reminding me to multiply all those numbers together and then divide by 3 at the end. You don't have to do that, but you do need to remember that you're multiplying by 4 and then dividing by 3. Volume is approximately 1,436, and then it was 0.02. So if I rounded it to the 10th, it would be 0.0, but do I really need the 0.0?
No, you don't need
No.
the 0.0.
So it could just be centimeters cubed at that point. Okay? All right, so that's fine. So now, guys, all right, you have to earn every point on your test. So if we add it up, you have, I think, 9 review questions. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 24 is 42. So we're up to 42 points of your test has been covered so far. How are you guys doing so far? We're almost through half of your test, but we're not to a passing grade yet. So to get to that passing grade, we have to get a couple more concepts correct. Find the unknown dimension of this figure. So now we're going to use the same formula. You guys struggled a little bit with unknown dimensions. What kind of figure is this? It's a cylinder. So V equals pi r squared h. But now I know different parts of my formula. Where would I plug in 1131? In for V, 1131. Then I would have pi, which is still 3.14. Be careful, what is my radius? 6. So times 6 squared. And then I do not know my height. All right, so we're going to pause here. I'm going to give you about a minute to finish solving for height. I want you to round it to the nearest tenth if you need to. All right, so 1131 equals, what was 3.14 times 36?
113.0.
Okay, 0.04, and then you still have your h. So what's my last step to solve for h?
Divide on both sides
By
by
113.04. All right, so now h is approximately, what did you guys get?
10 centimeters.
All right, 10 centimeters, not cubed, because it's not volume. Volume was cubed at the beginning, but any other dimension is just one dimensional, so we do not cube that. It's just 10 centimeters.
So what?
Okay, guys, here's your next one. Find the unknown dimension of this figure. Find the unknown dimension of this figure. So now I'm not going to start with anything. I want to see how much you guys can do. So start with the correct formula for this figure. Plug in your numbers and let's see how far you can get in this problem. Then we'll go over it. We'll give you about 2 minutes to solve for the unknown dimension of this figure. This kind of question will be worth 8 points on your test tomorrow.
Ooh, imagine.
8 points. What is
Yeah.
this
Well, no. There's 2 questions. I'm sorry. This concept. So there's going to be, every question is 4 points. So that means there's 2 questions on your test tomorrow that are very similar to this.
I thought you were talking about.
No, not 1 question. If it's 8 points, it means it's 2 questions on your test tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to start plugging in these numbers. I know you guys might still be working. I just want to make sure we're all at least on the right track. Okay, did you plug in 1017.4 for volume?
Yes. It's like 2 years ago.
Okay. Can anybody raise your hand and tell me, what did you guys simplify on the right side?
I got 12.
Okay, but how did you get that? 12 times 3.14 divided by 3. And what did you guys get? 12.66?
12.56.
56?
Yeah, like.
R squared. All right, now what's your next step? Yes, divide both sides by 12.56. Now, when this happens, what did you guys get?
I got 81 squared.
Right, so it's like so close to 81, right? So R squared is approximately 81. Now remember, for your test tomorrow, you want to go ahead and approximate this to the closest perfect square. All right, because you must take the square root to solve. Did you guys do that?
Yeah,
Radius is approximately 9 feet. Do I need to cube my unit? No, because radius is one-dimensional. So just 9 feet. Radius is 9 feet. All right, we are up to 60 points. 60 points. So up to this point, we've covered 60 points out of the 100 points on your test. So you might be wondering, what else is there? Well, guess what? You're going to find the unknown dimension. What does spherical mean?
It means a sphere.
It means a sphere. All right, so, well, here we go. If you miss this question, well, there's 2 questions like this. If you miss them, doesn't mean you're going to fail, okay? But 8 points is a lot. Start off with your formula. V equals, say it with me, 4/3 pi r to the 3rd power. Now, what little guy do you see here in your volume that actually makes your life easier? The pi symbol. So volume, when I plug this in, 562.5, guys, don't forget your pi. The pi is with it and, again, makes it easier to solve. Keep the pi symbol on the right side. As soon as I see the pi symbol with volume, I know I want to keep the pi symbol on the other side because my rule says I can divide and cancel them. As long as I do the same operation, those pi's can cancel. Now I bring down the rest. 562.5 equals 4/3 r to the 3rd. I'm going to pause here for about a minute. I want you to finish solving for your radius. Go ahead and finish solving. Okay, so times it by 3/4. We'll go over it. Times it. Did y'all times it by 3/4? Did you times it by 3/4, guys? So now you have to get rid of your fractions. So that means you have to multiply both sides by 3/4. So now you get 562.5 times 3 divided by 4, and you get 421.875.
So I rounded it.
R to the 3rd, what?
I got that, but
third. Oh my
I
goodness.
divided 4 by 3, and then I divided it by the other side, and then I got the same answer.
Just do the reciprocal. Do the
I
reciprocal.
understand that, so I just put it on.
All right. R to the third equals 421.875. But I know this is not a perfect cube. This is not a perfect cube. So is it closer to 343 or 512? It's actually really like, it's almost right in the middle. 343 would be 57, would be about 57 plus 21, 78 away. All right, so it actually is closer to 343. If you approximate it up to 512, I would accept both answers. So R to the third is closer to 343. All right, but again, if you were to round that up to 512 and take the cube root, I'm not going to take off points on your test tomorrow. Just the fact that you got that far, all right, shows me that you knew how to do the problem. Okay, so R is approximately 7 inches.
Can you redo that?
I can on YouTube. You can rewatch it. Okay? All right. We just don't have time to do it again. But it's going to be on YouTube, and I'm linking in this video to Google Classroom. All right. The cones are similar. Here's the key here. Now, this question, it's only one question on your test. The cones are similar. Find the slant height. It's all about setting up your proportion. I want the same kind of dimension in the ratio, and you'll see why in a minute when we do surface area, which means I have radius, and I have slant height and slant height. I want radius over radius, slant height over slant height. All right, you do the proportion, you do the cross products, and then you solve. Okay? All right, so I want you guys to go ahead and try to set up your proportion. There is not just one way to do it. Okay, there are a couple different ways you can set it up and get the correct answer. Most important part is that you set up the same unit in the same order on both sides. All right, take about a minute to set this up and solve. All right, did you guys do 5 over 7?
Yeah.
Radius over radius equals slant height over slant height. Notice how I went left to right, or x over y on both sides. So that makes 5L, which equals 91. Divide both sides by 5. And my slant height is 18.2 yards. You guys might remember this one from yesterday. Okay, slant height is 18.2 yards. All right, similar figures. This is going to be worth 8 points on your test tomorrow. This is where, with surface area, I will have to square my ratio of my dimension. Okay? I want, in one ratio, I want surface area over surface area. In the other ratio, I want dimension over dimension. All right, whether that's length, width, height, whatever they gave me. You have to do that so that you can square that dimension ratio. All right, go ahead and try to set it up. Give you about a minute, minute and a half to set this up and do your cross products. All right, I can already tell you what the number one mistake will be tomorrow. You do surface area over surface area. All right, so I went blue over red equals blue over red. Number one mistake tomorrow is that people will do the cross products now and solve. I will give you half credit if that's the mistake you make. However, to get full credit, look up here. To get full credit, are you going to square your ratio or cube it? This is surface area. You will square it. If this was volume, you would cube it. Now I have 608 over S equals 64 over 25. Now you will do your cross products. 608 times 25. So I get 64S equals 15,200. Now divide both sides by 64. S equals 237.5 meters squared. All right, that's going to be 8 points on your test tomorrow. I believe that's it. Yep, that's going to be it. Okay, now I will tell you guys, listen, you do have a volume question as well. One question on your test tomorrow is volume. You will do volume the exact same way, except what power do you raise it to? The third power. If you raise it to the second power tomorrow, then I would give you half credit. But to get full credit, you have to remember volume would be to the third power. All right, so that's everything you need to know for your test tomorrow.